Ever wonder why you will put concealer on your dark circles, but nothing seems to work? You'll just put on some bright, shiny concealer, you'll pat it on there, and it looks like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, I just know this will work. And it's like, wait a minute, there's still dark circles peeking through there. What's going on? And then you try another one. Maybe this one will work. So you pop it on there. And you're like, I just know it's gonna work. And you look and you're like, not this one either. Like, what the heck? What's going on? I tried so many concealers. It took me forever to figure this out. So I'm guessing maybe some of y'all don't know either. It didn't matter. I tried so many, high end, low end. Here I am. I literally would cake on white concealer, thinking that would help, and it didn't help. And finally somebody tipped me off, and it was like, oh no, you got to color correct those. And there's this thing called the color wheel. So you have to use a color under your eye that will cancel out the blue. So these concealers that I just tested here, these are actually good quality concealers and they performed really well, but the blue still popped out. Orange or peach cancel dark circles. This is a drugstore brand called L'Oreal True Match. I thought my camera was running when I applied this, so I'm just sort of reenacting it here. This is Stila. It's their Correct and Conceal palette. It's the more high-end over drugstore. But in comparison to the True Match, I think they're pretty similar. The Stila is a little more creamy. And what I do is I just gently tap anytime I work with my eyes, I'm so gentle. Number one, because that skin gets irritated really easily. And number two, if I put too much pressure, it makes the blue worse. On this eye, we are gonna put the concealer over the top of color correction before foundation. This is Bye Bye Under Eye. And then on the other eye, I am putting my foundation right over the top of it. I typically, when I color correct under my eyes, I will put foundation on top of it and cancel out all of that orange or red. And then I will put concealer on. So we're gonna do it backwards on either eye here. So I think the side that has the L'Oreal Pro-Glow, the Infallible Pro-Glow, I think that actually looks better than the other side. It could be that the foundation mixes better with the Stila palette than the Bye Bye Under Eye, or the Stila palette is just, maybe it's just more creamy and easier to blend. I'm using foundation here over my concealer. And this is the result. Correction, conceal, foundation. It looks great. There's no blue showing through, or very little. And it looks, it looks moist. It looks, dewy and fresh. So on the other side, now we're gonna put my concealer, the Bye Bye Under Eye, just a teeny little bit. And I tried to use my pinky finger so I can use less pressure, putting that in there. And this side, I think it looks amazing. So that is how I correct the dark circles under my eyes. You got to use orange or peach. And I use a heavy hand with the correcting stuff because I ain't messing around. I am not. Okay, this is a big deal. Correcting redness. I have a large nose and it's red. So green cancels out red. And I don't spare any color correction here either. I want my nose to be as diminished as I possibly can. My nose, for me, it's like if I just had enough nose to breathe, I'd be happy, but I got extra nose. So anyway, I do wear glasses, so the red dots where my glasses sit on my bridge of my nose, they're almost tattooed in there, so I'm constantly having to retouch that up. So I cover the nose really well. And by the way, this Stila Correct and Conceal palette is excellent. It's a higher end product, but anything will do really. So here I am, I'm using L'Oreal Infallible Pro-Glow foundation, and I'm gonna go and cover my nose with a sponge here. And while I'm at it, I'll probably continue to blend. Now that I've got makeup under my eyes, now I'm putting it on my nose. This is when I start to blend it all together. So I'm adding a little more here, just a little bit at a time. I just put a little bit. Now I'm using a sponge this time just to be consistent. Usually I will use a sponge under my eyes and then a brush for my foundation. Here are my eyes and my nose, all color corrected and looking good. Okie doke, we're gonna get rid of these deep lines right here. The ever-aging nasal labial folds. Let's diminish those bad boys. Okie doke, I take a color correcting crayon stick. This is a NYX Wonder Stick in light. It's almost gone, as you can see, but it matches my skin tone really well. Usually I will contour this area after I've applied my foundation, but today it's going under my foundation, so I am really piling it on so that it will continue to show the change under the foundation. Okay, I'm getting out my L'Oreal Infallible Pro-Glow foundation and gonna pat it right over the top of that with a sponge. This is a screenshot from before I applied the contour stick and the foundation. And after. Makeup is magical. I'm just continuing to sheer out the makeup, blending a little better around my mouth. Now I'm putting on my full face of foundation here, and I'll just continue to blend it out with a sponge. I prefer not to use a wet sponge for foundation on my entire face because so much of the foundation gets soaked up into the sponge. I normally would be using a brush at this point. Not a bad outcome for mostly drugstore. Okay, so I think I'm just having a double check here. It looks like I'm gonna go ahead and touch up that redness on my nose. Those little tattoos, they are stubborn, so I put a little more color correction there, add a little more foundation, and pat it on in. Looks like I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, do another look. Okay. What I am doing here now is I am actually using this finely milled powder that's in that Stila Correct and Conceal palette. The intention of this powder is to color correct, but I prefer this HD matte setting powder, which is excellent for aging mature skin. As far as setting powder goes, I think this is probably one of the best I've ever used. You can see the slight difference between the powder on each eye, and I believe that the high def works way better than the color correction. Okay, correcting eyelids. I am using Laura Geller's waterproof spackle eye primer. On one side, I'm going to go ahead and apply it with my finger. This is a really good eye primer. There's lots of really good primers out there. This just happens to be the primer that I've had now for probably a couple years. It lasts me a long time. It holds my shadow well, and it cancels out discoloration on your lid. So I tend to reach for this quite a bit. So you can see the difference here. This eye, I'm going to go ahead and apply it directly from the applicator, and then I'm going to switch to a brush and move it around, which is what I'm doing right now. I prefer to use a finger. I feel like I get better coverage and more control using a finger. So there we go. There's a slight difference there, but it still looks really good. But I'm going to go ahead and add a little more and even it out. So I am going to be all set here and ready to go to apply my color cosmetics. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I really appreciate you stopping by.